As they were wandering around the Shimo forest following a map, Asel asked Ronan if they'd be okay. Confused, he asks her what she is talking about, to which she replies that she is talking about the fight between him and Schlieffen, who is the heir of the Grancia ducal family, which is the next great family after the imperial family. During the fight, he broke Schlieffen's nose, so she is concerned about what would happen if Schlieffen were to retaliate. Ronan tells her not to worry, as despite being crazy about the sword, Schlieffen is a nice guy who upholds his principles and trust, making him the role model of everyone who protects the weak. Thus, he is considered to be the epitome of a perfect noble, so he'd probably say that what happened yesterday was a fair spar, and if it wasn't for that, they would have already been behind bars. As Asel is assured, Ronan tells her to keep that matter aside, as they finally found the place that Professor Varen told them about, the Fernando Spring, which contains a mana vein. Mana that hovers around the world for an unknown reason and gathers in a single spot, which forms a puddle called the mana vein. With its existence, mana would be absorbed by its surrounding matter, which turns a regular rock into the highest grade of mana stone, and a regular weed into a miraculous medicinal herb known for its great effectiveness. Considering its astronomical value, most people would want to monopolize it. So it's quite generous of Professor Varen to give them something like this just to hatch an egg. He then asks Asel her thoughts about this place, and if it feels any different. To which she replies that it's her first time sensing this much mana concentrated in one place, which means she can perform magic stronger than usual. She then notices the egg in Ronan's pocket, and informs him that, although it happened before, this time it's absorbing mana at an incredible speed, which might be because it likes this mana. Although Ronan understands what she is talking about, he can't see the mana himself. As Asel was saying how Maria would have loved to come with them, but wasn't able to due to being busy with the merchantry, she suddenly noticed something and asked Ronan if he finds it strange, as according to Professor Varen, this place is abundant in mana, causing many fantastical species to build their nests here, which means that this place is good even for regular animals. Then why aren't they hearing any kind of animal noise at all? This makes Ronan realize that he was too complacent, as things are really getting out of hand again, which made him question why it only happens to him. As Asel asked what he is talking about, Ronan tells her to get ready, as he is getting the smell of blood around here, which means that there are some uninvited guests who came before them, and by guests, he is talking about the guys who are hiding behind the trees while pointing arrows at them. They then shoot the arrows, which are infused with mana, and heading in their direction. However, Ronan easily blocks all the arrows with just a single slash. He then notices a falling arrowhead, and quickly recognizes it. Prior to his regression, when he was a disciplinary soldier and was camping with his comrades, one of them was holding an arrow and was boasting about how it can even blow up an orc's head. Annoyed, Ronan questions why someone who got caught poaching with that arrow is still boasting about it, to which the guy argues that despite his failure, this arrow belongs to those who used it over 100 times and were successful in poaching, making them an elite of the Caliaboros organization, and they are called bloodhounds. Recalling this past event, Ronan figures out that the enemies are Caliaboros bloodhounds. As it will be dangerous, he instructs Asel to hide somewhere while he deals with them. The guys from Caliaboros are shocked to see Ronan easily blocking mana-infused arrows in one slash. Then suddenly, one guy sees Ronan rushing towards them, so he quickly instructs everyone to disperse so they can surround him and attack. Seeing the guy's quick decision-making, Ronan realizes that they are different from the ones he met in Goblin's lair. As things aren't going favorably, he comes up with a plan and tells everyone to stop their attack, and lies that he is their allies. Confused, the guy inquires about his identity, to which he lies by introducing himself as a Haiute, the youngest bloodhound from the Damas branch. The guys refuse to believe that someone so young is a bloodhound, so they suspect him to be from a low-level affiliation. Ronan tells the guy to ask the captain from their branch to confirm his identity. He then mocks the guy by saying that assuming others can't do what you can't do is a bad habit. He also calls the guy a feral dog and pathetic. This angers the guy so much that he grabs Ronan by the collar while placing a knife near his neck and threatening to cut off his limbs. But Ronan keeps on mocking him, saying that people like him always have bad endings. As the guy gets more angry, another guy stops him, saying that they should not judge him just because he is young, and considering that he knows and talks about the Caliaboro ranking system that only a member knows. He might be a bloodhound, so they should confirm this with the captain first, as if he is not lying. Harming him could lead to discord between branches. While they were conversing, the captain arrived and asked what was going on. The guy then lets go of Ronan and begins explaining the situation. Seeing that their captain is here, Ronan realizes that all the branch members are in this place. Then the captain calls out to Ronan and asks if what he said is true, to which he replies affirmatively. However, Captain is confused, as this part of the mountain range should have been decided as their territory. Ronan then bluntly replies that he doesn't care, as he is not really a Haiute or from Caliaboro. This makes the guy really angry, but before he could respond, Ronan had already unsheathed his sword, using which he launches a horizontal slash that easily eliminates most of them. He then reveals that he just used the name he hates the most, as it was the best name to use when pretending to be a lowly poacher. Then he rushes at the captain and easily eliminates him, leaving only one guy. Ronan then calls out to him, reminding him of the thing he said earlier about having a bad ending. Then suddenly the guy's finger falls off, which was actually cut by Ronan, but it was so swift that he didn't even realize until it fell off. As the guy screams in pain, Ronan tells him to get a hold of himself and gives him a piece of paper while telling him to write down the locations of all the branches that he knows, and if he were to refuse, he would meet his end here. Scared for his life, the guy agrees. Later, Ronan praises the guy for perfectly drawing the map despite being injured. Scared, the guy thanks him and asks if he can go now, as Ronan had promised to spare his life. However, without replying, Ronan takes out his sword and eliminates him. Later, Asel started to vomit while Ronan told her to stop overreacting, as he warned her earlier, but she is still shocked at how cruel the Caliaboro are to massacre so many animals. That's why Ronan eliminated all the members of Caliaboro that were nearby, as he considers letting them live to be a crime. But Asel is worried, wondering whether they will face consequences. Ronan informs her that all of them are wanted criminals who were needed to be eliminated. Putting that matter aside, Ronan worries that if Professor Varen were to see this, he's going to be quite sad, as there's a bluebird similar to his, or the same one, lying dead. As Ronan was telling Asel that they should head home, suddenly the egg in the pouch started to move. As he was wondering what was causing this, Asel started to tremble and pointed in a certain direction. Upon looking that way, Ronan was shocked as all the blood of the animals started to float. Then suddenly, all the blood combined and started to get close to them. Not knowing what it is, Ronan was about to unsheath his sword, but in the process, the egg slipped from his hands, but it didn't land on the ground. Instead, it started to float and absorb the blood. Terrified, Asel asks what's happening, to which he replies that he doesn't know either. But one thing is sure, that whatever's inside the egg isn't normal. After absorbing all the blood, the egg is still floating. Then, Asel asks if it's the end, to which he replies affirmatively, stating that it hasn't changed much. Suddenly, the egg started to crack, and Ronan quickly realized that the egg is about to hatch, which made him excited, wondering what type of mythical thing is about to hatch from it. Then something quickly came out of the egg and collided with Ronan's face, which broke his nose. But he is more shocked than angry, as no matter how he looks at it, the dream bird looks nothing like a bird. Instead, it looks like a dragon. Asel also agrees, saying that she saw something similar to this in a book in which it is stated to be a dragon. This makes Ronan wonder where on earth the bluebird absorbed mana from to hatch something like this. But he decided not to think too deeply about it, and started to pet the dragon while calling it cute. However, despite its cuteness, he is still angry, as his nose hurts. The dragon seems to have understood Ronan's words as it started to use magic, which healed Ronan's nose in an instant. As Ronan was wondering what had happened, Asel informs him that the dragon is capable of healing magic, and she also added that it is really fond of Ronan, which is evident as it started to rub its face on his cheeks. Then, Asel suggests that they should give it a name, as they can't keep calling it a dragon. Ronan agrees, and as the both of them were starting to come up with a name, the dragon suddenly senses something and quickly dashes in a direction. As Asel worriedly questions where it's going, Ronan is surprised to see that it can even sense the presence of others. Meanwhile, a guy was running towards the opposite direction from where Ronan and Asel were. This particular guy is one of Caliaboro's errand boys who went to run an errand earlier. However, when he returned, he found everyone dead. But what terrified him the most was how a small egg absorbed that sea of blood. While running away, he sensed something behind him, and as he looked back, he saw that the dragon was chasing after him. Terrified, he tried to run fast. However, he tripped over a tree root and fell, causing the dragon to catch up with him. Then it started to absorb blood from the guy's injured knee. As he shouted for help, Ronan arrived and told the dragon to stop while calling it Sita. Asel then questioned if Sita was going to be the dragon's name, to which Ronan replied affirmatively, saying that he already had the name in his mind for a while, so he decided to name the dragon Sita, and it seems to also like the name. While Ronan spoiled Sita, the guy wondered if he is the monster's owner and what his identity is. Ronan then called the guy Balrus and asked if he is all right. Scared, the guy quickly nodded, saying he is fine, and thanked him for saving his life. He then abruptly stopped and asked Ronan how he knew his name. Without replying, Ronan took out his sword and placed it near his neck, telling him that he doesn't need to know. The reason Ronan knows Balrus's identity is because he met him in his past life, and it's the same guy who bragged about the Caliaboro's poaching arrow. As he didn't expect to meet him this soon, Ronan asks if poaching has been good as a Caliaboro's bloodhound. This shocked the guy, and he quickly informed Ronan that he is just an errand boy. Hearing this, Ronan recalls that Balrus's rank was low around this time, but he is still useful. So Ronan tells him that there's something he needs to do for him, and it isn't a favor. Instead, it's an order. Later, Ronan returned to the city with some gold, saying that it's better than he had thought. Asel also agrees with him, mentioning how surprised she was when he collected some water from the Fernando spring and said that this thing will turn into gold. She was initially confused, but quickly realized that the water is genuinely valuable, as Maria's father offered a high price for it. And it's all thanks to Professor Varen, as they don't have to worry about money for a while. Ronan agrees, stating that they are indebted to Professor Varen in many ways. Earlier, he visited Professor Varen's office to thank him while also introducing Sita. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to, as Professor Varen went on a long-term business trip. Leaving that aside, Ronan's trip to the Fernando Spring was more fruitful, as in addition to getting the map of Caliaboro's whereabouts, he was able to meet Balrus, whom he assigned a job and instilled so much fear in him that he wouldn't even think of having any other intention. Asel then asks Ronan what he's planning on doing with the money, as they are scholars who aren't required to pay school fees and instead receive support funding. So there's nothing major to pay for, so he can spend the money on anything he wants. While she makes a valid point, Ronan wonders what he should do. Then for some reason, he remembers that the entrance ceremony date is nearing. A few days later, at Valen City's carriage station, a guy opens a carriage door for someone who turns out to be Ronan's sister, Iril. She is really happy, as it's her first time visiting the capital city, Valon. Then, Ronan appears and greets his sister, asking if anything big happened while he was away. She replies that she should be the one to ask that, as she was really surprised after seeing a high-class carriage in front of their house. She wonders how he was able to afford it, as they don't have that much money. Leaving that matter aside, she grabs his face and worriedly asks if he is eating properly, as he has lost so much weight. Ronan assures her that he is fine and eating proper meals every day. Relieved, she notices Sita and questions who this cute thing is. Ronan introduces Sita and informs her that it started traveling with him due to certain circumstances. More importantly, he tells her to hurry and come with him. As she questions where they are going, Ronan replies that he's going to be busy once he enters the academy, so there are things he'd like to do beforehand. Later, Iril is shocked and tells Ronan that she is aware that he made lots of money, and she also understands that he is more carefree because he got a scholarship. Despite that, the dress he bought is really expensive. Ronan ignores her and asks the shop clerk if all those can be delivered, to which the clerk replies affirmatively. Still worried, Iril asks if it's really necessary to take this many, to which Ronan replies that it's not a lot, as she had gone through much more, so it's about time she gets rewarded. Hearing this, she is touched, wondering when her little brother grew up this much, and as she happily shouts for everyone to look how kind her brother is, Ronan tries to stop her while the shop clerk comments on how good their relationship is. Unable to stand the embarrassment, Ronan tells her that their job here is done, so they should leave, to which she happily agrees and asks where they will be going next. He replies that they'll go to a workshop, as his sword was damaged by a crazy person. As he was saying that while opening the door, Schlieffen was behind the doors and asks Ronan if he's finally done. Suddenly seeing him behind the door, Ronan gets a jump scare and asks Schlieffen why he is coming out from there and if he is stalking him, to which he replies that his sword got damaged due to the duel between them, so he ordered a new sword within the vicinity. He came to get the sword, and coincidentally saw Ronan, so he just waited until he came out of the shop. That's why he suggests Ronan to stop his repulsive misunderstanding attitude. Ronan replies that what he just said is the definition of a stalker. Then Ronan unsheathes his sword, saying that his sword wasn't the only one that got damaged. Schlieffen states that he is the one to blame, and as both of them were about to engage in a battle, Iril intervened and started to scold Ronan for using foul language. As he tries to explain that Schlieffen is the one who broke his sword, Iril doesn't listen to him and kept on scolding while Schlieffen is confused and sheathes his sword. As Iril turns around to apologize for her brother's behavior, Schlieffen instantly develops a crush on her and starts blushing. As she kept on apologizing for not disciplining her brother well, Schlieffen started to fluster, saying that this happened because of his own lack of discretion. So it's not her fault, and everything that has happened is his responsibility, so she should rest assured. Hearing that Iril thinks Schlieffen is kind and mistakes him as Ronan's friend, she then thanked him for befriending her brother and requested that he take care of Ronan, to which he agrees and decided to compensate for Ronan's sword. But he doesn't have any gold with him at the moment, so he gives her his family's proof of identification and informs her that she can use this everywhere in the Empire. Not knowing its worth, Iril takes it, while Ronan is immensely shocked and asks him if he is aware of what he is doing by giving her this. Schlieffen ignores him and suggests Iril to go to the blacksmith on the western end of the street if she wants to buy swords, as it's known to be a place that carries a history of 500 years. It's difficult for commoners to enter the shop, but with that, she can easily go there. Then he leaves, saying that he hopes they make her a good sword. Ronan is still in shock, wondering if Schlieffen even knows what he's doing. As with the Grancia family's proof of identification, one can buy many villages. This makes him wonder if it's really the same sword Saint Schlieffen he knows of. The next day at Filion Academy's entrance exam ceremony, where the headmaster greets all freshmen of class 787 and introduces himself as the headmaster of Filion Academy, Krava Kratir, he states that all the students have passed with amazing skills and have proved their potential. He believes that when the students' boundless talent collides with Filion's prestigious education, they will all be recorded in the Empire's history. He then ends the speech by congratulating all the students of class 787 on their entrance. Meanwhile, Ronan is bored and considers the ceremony to be too grand, but he still thinks that events like this happening from time to time aren't so bad, especially since his sister seems to like it. As the ceremony is nearing its end, the headmaster has prepared something special, so he snaps his fingers, causing blue and purple mana to surround the students. While the students were wondering what's going on, they noticed a crack in the sky. Then suddenly, in an instant, the scenery changed to an arena where seniors were welcoming the new students. Ronan is shocked at how the headmaster was able to teleport the whole place with just a snap of his fingers. Then, the headmaster announces this to be the peak of Filion's entrance ceremony, so it's time to begin the meeting between the seniors and juniors. Senior-junior meetings occur between the top freshmen and Year 2 seniors. Due to the location where they meet each other for the first time being an arena, the encounters they have are known to be very intense. The first and second ranks are chosen to represent the freshmen, and they will spar against one of the 4 seniors, each with their own individual fighting style. The headmaster emphasizes that the significance of this event is closely linked to the instructors of Filion, and it goes beyond just the participants. It's about fostering the relationship between seniors and juniors. As they learn about each other's weaknesses, the headmaster believes that complementing and competing against each other is the beginning of true education. Through these educational duels, each year's representative will get to demonstrate their first step. Freshmen are given the choice to select their opponent, and they can also decline a duel if they choose. This ensures that the freshman representatives don't feel burdened by the process. Ronan is annoyed at the headmaster for beating around the bush, as they're basically hazing the freshmen. This is evident as they will be sparring against the top rankers such as Nasdo, ranked 1st, and Braum, ranked 2nd, followed by Irina, ranked 3rd, and Karun, ranked 4th. Ronan decides to take this opportunity to show his sister that he doesn't go around getting beat up. He also plans to demonstrate his great companionship. However, after hearing the headmaster state that they can freely choose their opponent, Ronan comes up with an idea and asks the headmaster for permission to make a suggestion. After receiving permission, Ronan suggests that he duel all 4 seniors at once. This shocks the headmaster, and the seniors also didn't like it. But despite that, Ronan insists on fighting all of them at once. As the suggestion is too bold, the headmaster decides to discuss the situation with the professors. But after a while, the discussion seems to lead nowhere, prompting the headmaster to seek Instructor Nabarose's opinion. She replies that they should proceed with Ronan's suggestion, as it's Filian's overarching principle that if one possesses the skill, they are free to do whatever they want. So, no matter who wins the duel, it will hold deep meaning for many. If things were to go wrong, she will interfere. Understanding what she meant, the headmaster decides to proceed with the duel, but the seniors don't like this outcome. Senior Karun thinks it's absurd how severely Ronan is looking down on them, while Irina thinks he is too arrogant just because he ranked second. As both plan to teach Ronan a lesson, Nazdo tells them to calm down, informing them that even if he is arrogant, he can fight on par with Schlieffen, who is definitely skilled. This means that he's an opponent they can't look down on. So, Nazdo suggests that all of them go all out from the start, to which they agree. Meanwhile, Iril was spectating and noticed the chaotic atmosphere. She yells out to Ronan, telling him to be careful and to forfeit right away if things get dangerous. Ronan waves at her to assure her, and as she calms down, the headmaster commences the duel. Just then, in an instant, Nazdo swiftly rushes at him and uses his sword to attack, but he easily dodges it and realizes that they are really sharp and a couple of levels higher than Maria. This means that the 4 strongest sophomores are on another level. While he was lost in thought, Irina attacked him with her dagger, which he easily blocked. However, she doesn't stop. Instead, she keeps slashing at him. Then Karun appears behind Irina and tells her to duck. As she does, he attacks Ronan with his spear, which he also easily blocks. But the impact causes him to be pushed backward, where Brahm lifts his greatsword and prepares to attack. But before that, he questions Ronan why he is going easy when he wanted a more ferocious spar with him. Then, he uses a vertical slash attack on Ronan, but he isn't worried at all. Instead, everything is slow in front of him as he analyzes their movements, such as Brahm's swift and strong finishing blow and the others' follow-up attacks right after. Ronan realizes that they are at a really high level and have good teamwork. However, it's not enough. He then vanishes in front of their eyes, to the point where Brahm's finishing attack doesn't work at all. While Irina is shocked at how fast Ronan is, he appears behind them and swiftly breaks their weapons as they were mid-air. He believes his choice to attend Filian was correct, and just as he thought all of them were defeated, he hears a big thud coming from Brahm, who wasn't defeated as his weapon is still intact. As he rushes to attack, Ronan wonders if he should shatter his battle spirit, but he decides to remain considerate until the end. Ronan then also prepares to attack, which shocks Brahm as he is familiar with Ronan's stance, which is similar to that of Professor Nabarose. Before Brahm could even react, Ronan swiftly dashes past him and destroys his sword, resulting in their defeat. The whole arena went silent, as none of them could believe what they had just witnessed. But one thing was sure, that the newbie defeated all the top-ranked students, so everyone started to cheer for him. The battle was so one-sided that even Nazdo is not upset about it. Instead, he wonders where that monster could have come from. Now that the duel had ended, Ronan decided to see the reaction of his sister, who was surprised to the point that she grabbed the collar of the guy who was sitting beside her and started to shake him while asking if anyone saw how amazing her brother is. Now that she won't be worried about him getting bullied, there's just one thing left, which is to show his social skills. So, he turns to the seniors and thanks them, expressing how much he learned from dueling them. The reason he acted the way he did earlier is due to the excitement of attending Filion Academy. Nonetheless, their teamwork and strength were unimaginable, which helped him gain insight into many things. So he thanked them from the bottom of his heart for accepting his challenge. Meanwhile, Maria and Acel are shocked, wondering if he ate anything bad for him to act like that, as it's really unbecoming of him. Ronan then continues and apologizes for his rude behavior earlier, and wishes to look forward to receiving more teachings from them. The situation became awkward as they thought him to be arrogant, but he turned out to be humble, so none of them knew how to respond. Then, Brahm breaks the silence by praising Ronan for not only his strength, but also his politeness. He grabs Ronan's hands while telling him not to be humble, as he fought fairly with just his ability and won, which is exactly as a Filion student should be. He announces Ronan as the victor and compliments his strength, which Ronan happily accepts. Now that he has shown his social skills, Iril won't need to worry anymore. Meanwhile, Iril is touched by Ronan's interaction with his seniors and wonders when he grew up so much. Also, she completely ripped apart the clothes of the guy whose collar she was shaking earlier. Meantime, someone was watching Ronan from afar and finds him interesting.